For millennia, humanity has pondered one of its greatest questions: what happens when we die? Religions and cultures offer profound beliefs about the afterlife, heaven, or reincarnation. And while those spiritual journeys are deeply personal, today we're going to explore a different path than the one our physical bodies take. This isn't a horror story. It's the final fascinating chapter of our biological story. It's the ultimate act of recycling, a natural return to the elements. So, let's get into the science of what happens to your body after you die. First, we need to define the exact moment of death. Medically, it's not as simple as a movie scene. Doctors look for two key indicators. The first is brain death, which is the complete and irreversible end of all electrical activity in the brain. Even if machines are keeping the heart pumping, without brain function, it's considered a definitive end. The other is cardiac death, which is what most of us think of. The heart stops beating and blood circulation ceases. Now there's a small window here. When the heart stops, we enter clinical death. For about 4 to 6 minutes, resuscitation might be possible. But after that, we reach biological death, the true point of no return. Once biological death is confirmed, a whole new series of processes begins almost immediately. In the very first moments and hours after death, the body undergoes some pretty significant, though passive, changes. The first is what we could call the great relaxation. Every single muscle in the body, and I do mean every asterisk muscle, completely lets go. This includes the sphincter muscles that control the bladder and bowels, so it's common for any waste to be released. Trapped gases can also escape, which can cause a noticeable odor. In very rare and specific circumstances, this gas release can lead to some startling phenomena. For example, men might ejaculate post-mortem, and in an extremely rare event known as coffin birth, built-up abdominal gas in a pregnant woman can actually expel the fetus. These are all natural consequences of the body's systems shutting down. But the relaxation isn't the only thing happening. The body can still produce movements and sounds that might seem a little spooky, but are purely biological. Air trapped in the lungs can escape if the body is moved, creating sounds that sound like moans or groans. Muscles can also have reflexive contractions for a short time, leading to small twitches. At the same time, gravity starts to take over. Without the heart pumping, blood begins to settle in the lowest parts of the body. This is called livor mortis asterisk, and it causes a dark purplish discoloration of the skin in those areas. Fun fact: if a male body is lying face down, this same process can cause blood to pool in the penis, resulting in a post-mortem erection. All of these initial events are just the body transitioning to the next phase. Forensic scientists have a neat way of categorizing the most obvious changes that happen within the first day. They call them the three mortises. We've already met one. Livor mortis asterisk, the pooling of blood. The first one is algor mortis asterisk, which literally means death chill. Without blood circulating to generate heat, the body can no longer regulate its temperature. It starts to cool down steadily, about 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit per hour, until it matches the temperature of its surroundings. The third, and perhaps most famous, is rigor mortis asterisk, the stiffness of death. This usually kicks in about 2 to 6 hours after death. It's a chemical change where calcium floods the muscle cells, causing them to contract and become rigid. This is why a body becomes stiff for a period of time. Once these three stages have fully set in, the body is ready to begin the much longer process of active decomposition. This is where things get really interesting, as the body begins its journey back to the elements. It starts at the cellular level. Without oxygen from the blood, individual cells begin to break down in a process called autolysis. This internal decay creates the perfect environment for bacteria to thrive. You might have heard that hair and nails keep growing after death, but that's actually a myth. What's really happening is the skin is dehydrating and receding, which creates the illusion of growth. The skin also loosens and blisters can form on the body as it starts to break down from the inside out. This leads directly into the next major stage: putrefaction. Putrefaction is when the real cleanup crew arrives. Bacteria and other microorganisms that live inside our bodies, especially in our gut, begin to feast on our soft tissues. As they break down the organic material, they produce a lot of gas. This is the same gas that can cause those post-mortem moans, and it's what causes the body to bloat significantly. These gases also release an incredibly powerful, foul odor. One person described the smell as rotten eggs, feces, and a used toilet left out for a month, times 1,000. It's an unholy smell, but it's a sign that nature is efficiently doing its job of breaking down complex structures. This stage is a critical part of the decomposition cycle. Eventually, all that microbial activity causes the soft tissues to liquefy, leaving behind the more resistant materials like bones, cartilage, and hair. How fast this happens really depends on the environment. A body left exposed to the elements above ground can become a liquefied mess in about a month. The temperature, humidity, and access for insects all play a huge role in speeding things up. However, a body buried in a coffin is much more protected. In that scenario, it could take 8 to 12 years before the body is reduced to just a skeleton. But even when only the skeleton remains, the journey isn't quite over. The process of returning to nature is incredibly thorough, and it continues for a long, long time. So, what happens after the skeleton is all that's left? The process continues. Even bone, which seems so permanent, will eventually break down. Given enough time, about 50 years or so, even the bones will disintegrate. Their minerals, the calcium and phosphorus that made them strong, will break down and become part of the soil. The biological journey after death is a complete and total return to nature. From the immediate relaxation of the muscles to the final disintegration of bone, every single step is a predictable, scientific process. It's the ultimate form of recycling, where a living organism is broken down and returned to the environment it came from, providing nutrients for new life to begin. It's a beautiful, natural cycle that connects us all to the planet. Thank you so much for joining me on this fascinating biological journey. It's a topic that can seem intimidating, but understanding the science behind it reveals a truly remarkable natural process. If you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.